things about our call recording that's kind of unique is we have full-time recording and we have on-demand. So I'll just kind of break those down. So full-time call recording just means every call that comes in, we're recording that. We do have the ability for maybe a certain executives or people who don't want to be recorded. In programming, we have that flexibility to be able to turn those folks off and not have all those calls recorded. But full-time call recording means that all the incoming calls are being recorded, and the programming can determine who gets recorded and who doesn't. And that's actually stored in our MX system. And we have the ability, we're moving more toward these new technologies of like WebRTC and more browser-based applications to be able to access. And so with our call recording, this is actually one of the things that makes it very unique. So from any computer web browser, we can browse to the call recording application. I think, Terry, I think you have that kind of set up on your screen. We can maybe take a look at that and see what that looks like real quick. Is one of the applications that we're able to access via the web. And when we click on that, it actually gives us a list of our current call recording. This is live stuff right in our own office here. And then we're able to do some really unique things. We can sort by different things, whether it be time and date or user or who it's from, by phone number, all sorts of different fields there that helps us maybe find a particular call. We can filter and we can sort by all things from the date from and the date to, the caller ID coming in. We can do all sorts of things for the group, whether it's inbound or outbound. So Terry's just kind of clicking on some of the various tools once you're in this application to be able to identify and find that needle in the haystack phone call of the person who was really upset and wants to sue you now. And then you've got accountability to be able to take that call. You can listen to it. You can actually manipulate it by moving it around, by emailing it, all sorts of different ways to use that particular call and use it for your advantage or customer service or whatever it might be. So yeah, you can see a big long list of pages that we've got there. So every single call being recorded. And you know, the idea here is that with full-time call recording, we've got all those calls in there. And then with on-demand recording, that's actually going to appear in our Zultys Advanced Communicator. And so we'll take a look at that too and see how it actually shows up in our recordings tab of the Zultys Advanced Communicator. So for my on-demand. The nice thing about the on-demand is that we're a few minutes into this conversation right now. Let's say, and Terry and I are having this, and all of a sudden we're having information that he shared with me that like, gosh, those are some really good points he made. I wish I would have taken notes or if I could capture that. Well, in ZAC, our Zultys Advanced Communicator, you're going to be able to see this round circle button, and you'll be able to hit that button. And then you're not only just recording from that point forward, it's actually like a DVR. It's been capturing the entire conversation. So when I hit that record button, it's actually going to take the entire conversation, there we go, and it's going to put it into our voicemail tab under recordings. So there you can see Terry just clicked on that, it turned red. So now it's recording from not only this point forward, but the entire conversation that we've been on here now for however long that conversation's been going. And then it shows up in the voicemail tab under recordings. So if you click on the voicemail tab there, then you'll be able to see you've got the recordings, and there it is. You can play it, you can forward it, you can download it, all sorts of really cool things. So call accounting around for a while now and on lots of different platforms, but the unique identifiers for us is that you can have that DVR type function, and you're able to access it, you know, via the web for the on-demand or the full-time call recordings. So a really nice tool that allows us to be able to have this accountability or have this customer service improvement or any of these metrics we've kind of discussed. Word of caution we want to make sure we mention here is that, you know, I'm in California, we're a two-party state. And what that means is that on a conversation, both parties have to know that the call is being recorded. So you can upfront and auto attend it by saying, you've heard these things like, thanks for calling Zultys. All of our calls are recorded for customer service, quality assurance, things like that. And that way that person's on notice. And then of course, all the employees have noticed that the calls are being recorded as well. So that's important for you to know. Sometimes it's a one-party state, sometimes it's a two-party state, so there's notifications. So check with your own individual state regulations as something to make sure that you don't do something that's going to get anybody in trouble here either. So that's an important point. Okay, how do I do a call record? And I got to look up the manual. Well, it's right on your Zultys Advanced Communicator right in front of you. It's a button, easy to start it, and it automatically puts it into your voicemail, recording section. And for companies that have compliance things like investment firms or insurance companies, sometimes they have to gather information for compliance and be able to archive that. Our archive server is another great application that fits in that to be able to retain those conversations for longer periods of time, for example. And so it is one of those tools that if you research enough with the company and you're able to pull out from them what their issues are and what their pain points are related to this and being able to bring this solution, the satisfaction level is huge. And it just helps you differentiate and win deals that you wouldn't have otherwise.
In closing, we've said so much about call recording. In closing, and I love the fact that, you're suggesting that people watching, you need to be using all of these capabilities because, I would almost say that the authenticity that we were talking about, we even talked about it in the discovery video, is that genuineness of you use these things on a daily basis translates into how you are perceived when you're telling a customer the value of that capability, right?
Yeah, and I love what our Executive Vice President of Sales and Marketing, John Osgood, always says is that it's one thing to understand an application, but he talks about sprinkle and tie. And what he means about that is you create curiosity and interest about an application, and then you tie it into a real life story. So something like the lawyer story that I was talking about, where maybe they had been sued over a misunderstood verbal agreement. And that's a real application where they were using the call recording and it saved their bacon because they had a misunderstood verbal agreement, but they were able, through the accountability of a recorded conversation, keep them probably from tens of thousands in a lawsuit. That's huge value. I mean, and the cost of call recording licenses is such a minimal expense, but it has huge value and implications for companies that may have that situation and all the other things we talked about. So taking the application and tying it into a story is very important. So like you're saying, if you're using it in your office as a channel partner, you could say, hey, I use this every day. And guess what? It helps me make sure that I get information correct, or it helps me be a better person for customer service. It has accountability. So I love this tool and what it does for us. Because there are going to be people who may not like the idea of recording calls and Big Brother and all that kind of thing. So it's really understanding what the positive elements are of this application and what it can bring to an organization that helps them be better.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. Well, I think we've got a lot of information about call recording. Hopefully, we've inspired you enough to go out. If you're not using it, you're going to need to use it to get a sprinkle and tie story. And the one thing you do not want to ask on your front end is, what did you say?
Terry, do you want call recording?